This is part 2 to the Peyton Randolph house located in Williamsburg, Virginia. And y'all, before we even start this video for being part 2, we got to do the same thing as the first one and give you a disclaimer that this is not meant for the most sensitive people out there or people that are easily offended, that can't deal with history or tragic losses that can hurt some feelings or be a little touchy. So just heads up, you don't want it, just scroll on. Now, part 1, we talked about the history and a few of the hauntings and why this place might be haunted and some curses that have been put on it as well. And the hauntings on this property are documented. But what we didn't touch base on 100% were the 30 people that perished there. The Peyton Randolph house had 30 people pass in it. On the property is a different number, I believe. But people lost their lives here pretty tragic. There was a boy that fell out of a tree. There was a argument going on in there, and 2 men just took each other out, you know. A girl fell from the 2nd-story window to the ground and was unalive. Multiple Civil War soldiers, when it was used as a Civil War hospital, took their last breaths in this house, and possibly Revolutionary War too, but I couldn't find documents on that. But one that is true is of a Civil War soldier that was staying there and was attending college. And what he did was he developed tuberculosis, and he ended up passing in the house as well. On top of that, somebody self-discontinued in there. Numerous reports of children that became ill with a sudden, unknown illness, which makes you wonder, was it even an illness or did somebody do something kind of bad? Because some of the people that lived here weren't the happiest or the nicest people. Now, in one of the rear bedrooms, one of the owners named Miss Peachy is still seen to this day wearing a long flowing gown and wearing a lace cap on her head. People have reported hearing a woman singing in the backyard, and when they're singing, it's like right in front of their face, but they cannot see the person. They only hear the nice, beautiful song. Now, if you want to get on YouTube and find the video that's about 10 minutes long with the security guard telling his stories when he worked there back in the 70s, it is fantastic at the stuff that he saw and had witnesses to. One of the stories that he's had is whenever he was checking out the Peyton house, and he was going through the back because the back door was open. He went upstairs and he checked the upstairs. It was fine, nothing going on, just normal. Then he went down to the basement. He went down there, checked it out, turned around, and got a feeling to look over his shoulder. And when he did, he noticed that he had left the light on. So he went back down the stairs, turned the light off, got halfway up the steps, and he got froze. Because what he was hearing behind him was somebody moaning. And it was like a sorrowful moan, like they were in pain, and he just freaking could not move. He said his feet were trapped there, that no matter what he could do, he could speak, he could move his arms, he could do everything else, but his feet were just like cemented there on that stair. And that moaning sound was all around him, and he ended up getting his radio and calling for help, like, come on, somebody save me. His lieutenant showed up and knocked on the door, and he said as soon as that lieutenant knocked on the door, his feet became unfrozen. And then they went together and investigated the whole house top to bottom, brought people in to see if somebody else could have been holding him there. What was that moaning sound? They couldn't figure it out. People have reported babies crying in the walls of this place, and there is no reason why there are babies crying in the middle of the night coming from the walls. Furniture tends to move in this house with no explanation why. And there are boot sounds coming from all over. Like you can hear them and you can follow them. But when you go there sometimes, and people have reported this, there is a man standing there dressed in colonial attire. In a 2nd-story window, an apparition of a girl is seen, and possibly the one that fell out of that window. Or even the movement in that same window has been witnessed. There's knocking on walls, and there's sounds of children playing all over the property. And not even to include all this other stuff that's going on, there are just a ton of apparitions being seen. Civil War soldiers have been seen all over the property, and people walking down the stairs have said they have been pushed, that they had to hold themselves up and brace themselves from being pushed so hard down those stairs so they wouldn't fall. The fire alarms in the building have been set off by themselves, and nobody knows why. There's no smoke, there's no fire. It's a false alarm. But one of the biggest discoveries on this property is of the Native American burial ground. They found different grave sites on this property, and when they were doing the reconstruction of one of the wings, there's pottery, there's graves. You don't mess with Native American burial grounds. I'm just saying, that's going to be a hard lesson learned for you. Have you ever been to the Peyton Randolph house, or the Peyton Peachy house is also aka known as? Have you had your own ghostly experience there? Let me know in the comments section right over there. And y'all, don't forget to follow me for more paranormal stories.